Welcome, dear traveler, to this sacred space of rest and renewal. As you settle into your bed tonight, allow yourself to sink deeply into the softness beneath you. Feel the weight of your body being cradled, supported, held by the earth itself like a child in loving arms. Tonight, we embark on a gentle journey together, a path that winds through ancient wisdom, peaceful gardens, and the quiet corners of the awakened heart. There is no destination to reach, no goal to achieve, no timeline to follow. There is only this moment, this breath, this tender invitation to let go of everything you no longer need to carry. Close your eyes now, if you haven't already. Feel the darkness behind your eyelids, like a soft velvet curtain drawn across the day. All the thoughts that have carried you to this moment, the conversations, the decisions, the worries, the small victories and gentle defeats, they can rest now too. Like birds settling into their nests at dusk, let each thought find its place in the quiet branches of your mind and grow peacefully still. Breathe with me now. Take a slow, gentle breath in through your nose, feeling the cool, clean air fill your lungs like morning mist filling a valley. And now a longer, warmer breath out through your mouth, releasing everything you no longer need to hold. Again, breathing in peace and calm and spaciousness, breathing out tension and effort and the accumulated weight of the day. With each breath, you are returning home, home to yourself, home to this precious moment, home to the deep, abiding peace that lives within you always, waiting patiently beneath the surface of your busy days, like a hidden spring that never runs dry. Tonight's journey will carry you through timeless stories, tales told by wise teachers under starlit skies, passed down like gentle flames from one generation to the next through countless centuries of seeking and finding. These are not stories to analyze or understand with your thinking mind. They are medicine for your soul, balm for your spirit, meant to be received by the deeper parts of you that know truth not through logic or reasoning, but through feeling, through resonance, through the quiet recognition of what has always been present within you. As we begin, imagine yourself sitting by a warm fire in a peaceful temple courtyard. The flames dance slowly, hypnotically, casting gentle shadows on ancient stone walls that have witnessed countless nights of contemplation and prayer. The air is filled with the soft fragrance of sandalwood and night-blooming jasmine, sweet and clean and infinitely soothing. Above you, a vast canopy of stars spreads across the darkness like scattered diamonds on black silk, each one a distant reminder of the vast mystery that holds us all. You are not alone here in this sacred space. Around you, other seekers of peace have gathered, some sitting in quiet meditation with spines straight and eyes closed, others listening with hearts wide open to the stories being shared. There is no hurry here, no schedule to keep, no place else to be. Time moves like honey in this place, slow and golden and sweetly thick, each moment expanding to hold whatever needs to be held. The storyteller is an old monk whose eyes hold the depth of still mountain lakes. His voice is soft and weathered, like wind through ancient pines, carrying the wisdom of seasons beyond counting. When he speaks, the words seem to come not just from his mouth, but from some deeper place, a wellspring of understanding that flows through him like an underground river, finding its way to the surface. Every ending, he begins, his voice barely above a whisper, is also a beginning. Every sunset carries within it the promise of dawn. Every moment of letting go creates sacred space for something new to be born. And every breath you take tonight is both a release of what was and a welcome to what is. Feel these words settling into your body like seeds planted in rich, dark soil. You don't need to understand them fully or grasp their complete meaning. Simply let them rest in the quiet garden of your heart, where they will grow and bloom and bear fruit in their own perfect time, according to their own natural rhythm. As you lie here now, notice how your body has already begun to soften without any effort from you. Your shoulders, perhaps carrying the invisible weight of the day's responsibilities, slowly releasing downward toward the earth. Your jaw, which may have been clenched without your knowing, gently parting like flower petals opening to morning dew. Your hands, which have grasped and held and worked so faithfully today, opening like leaves turning toward warm sunlight. This is the natural rhythm of rest, the tide of tension flowing out to sea, making space for the tide of peace to flow in and fill every cell, every fiber, every corner of your being. You don't have to force this process or make it happen through will or effort. It is already happening, as natural and inevitable as night following day, as certain as seasons changing in their perfect order. In the Zen tradition, there is a beautiful teaching about beginner's mind, approaching each moment with the fresh eyes and open heart of someone experiencing it for the very first time. Tonight, as we journey together through these stories and silences, let yourself listen with beginner's ears. Let yourself rest with beginner's body. Let yourself drift into sleep with beginner's mind, open, curious, free from expectations about how it should be or when it should come. The ancient teachers often spoke of meditation as a form of non-doing, not adding anything to this moment or trying to make it different, but simply being fully present to what is already here, already perfect, already complete. Tonight's sleep can be this same kind of non-doing, not trying to force sleep to come or wrestling with thoughts that arise, but creating the gentle conditions where sleep can naturally unfold, like a flower blooming in a well-tended garden when all the elements align. Feel your breathing now, how it has naturally slowed and deepened as you've been listening to this voice, these words, this invitation to rest. Notice how your heartbeat has found its own peaceful rhythm, like distant temple bells marking time in a sacred grove where nothing needs to be rushed and everything can unfold in its own sweet time. Your body knows how to rest. Your mind knows how to be still. Your spirit knows how to return to its natural state of peace and wholeness. Trust in this ancient wisdom that lives in your cells and bones and breath. Trust in the part of you that has never forgotten how to simply be. The old monk's voice drifts across the temple courtyard like incense on a gentle evening breeze, carrying with it the first of our timeless tales. As you listen, let your body continue its natural descent into deeper rest. Each word a soft stepping stone, leading you closer to the peaceful shore of sleep. Once, many seasons ago, the monk begins, his weathered hands folded peacefully in his lap. There lived a learned professor who had spent decades studying the ways of enlightenment. His library overflowed with ancient texts, his mind brimmed with complex concepts, and his tongue was quick with philosophical debates. He knew, or believed he knew, everything there was to know about the path to wisdom. As you listen to this story unfolding, imagine yourself walking along a misty mountain path in the early morning light. Feel the soft earth beneath your bare feet, cushioned by centuries of fallen leaves that carpet the way with their gentle yielding. The air is cool and clean, filled with the sweet scent of mountain pines and the distant sound of a waterfall cascading down moss-covered rocks. Each step you take is unhurried, peaceful, meditative. There is nowhere else you need to be but here, now, walking this gentle path toward understanding. One day, this professor heard whispers of a humble tea master who was said to possess profound understanding despite having no formal education, no degrees, no recognition from the academic world. Curious but somewhat skeptical, for what could a simple tea server possibly know that he, with all his learning, did not? The professor made the long journey to the master's dwelling, a modest hut nestled among clouds and ancient trees. Feel the mist now, dear listener, as it swirls around your imagined form on this mountain path. Cool and soft against your skin, it carries with it the essence of mystery, of things half seen and fully felt. Let it caress your face in your mind, relaxing the tiny muscles around your eyes, softening your forehead like a gentle blessing, releasing any lingering tension held in your temples or jaw. When the professor finally arrived at the simple tea house after his arduous climb, he was greeted by an elderly man in worn robes whose eyes sparkled with quiet joy and infinite patience. This was the tea master, small in stature, humble in manner, yet somehow filling the entire space with his peaceful presence. Without fanfare or formal introduction, without bowing or ceremony, the old man simply gestured with graceful hands for the professor to sit on a weathered cushion beside a low wooden table that bore the marks and stains of countless tea ceremonies, each one a moment of connection and sharing. In your resting place now, feel yourself settling even more deeply into your bed, as if you too are taking your place at this ancient table. Your body melts further into the soft support beneath you, like settling onto that worn cushion that has held so many seekers, so many moments of learning and unlearning. I have come to learn about enlightenment, announced the professor, with the confident tone of one accustomed to being the most learned person in any room. I have studied all the great texts, mastered the most complex philosophies, and engaged the finest minds of my generation in deep discourse about the nature of reality. Yet something feels incomplete. Something remains just beyond my grasp. The tea master nodded peacefully, neither impressed nor dismissive, and reached for a simple clay teapot. Its surface was worn smooth by countless hands and countless servings, darkened by years of faithful use. Steam rose from its curved spout, like prayers ascending to heaven, carrying the rich, earthy aroma of perfectly brewed tea. Breathe in that imagined fragrance now. Let it fill your senses with its warmth and depth. Feel how even the simple act of breathing in this story, this moment, this peaceful scene, brings you closer to that place of perfect rest that your body and mind are seeking. Please, said the professor, leaning forward eagerly, ready to begin what he assumed would be a profound philosophical exchange. Tell me about the nature of emptiness in Buddhist thought. I have read extensively on the concept of sunyata, and believe I have grasped its essential meaning, though I confess some of the more subtle implications continue to elude my understanding, and I hoped that perhaps. But the tea master simply smiled, a smile like morning sunlight on still water, and began to pour. The golden liquid flowed from the pot in a perfect, graceful arc, filling the professor's delicate porcelain cup with infinite care and attention. The sound was musical, soothing, like a gentle stream finding its way over smooth stones. Listen to that sound in your imagination, the soft music of tea being poured, of liquid meeting ceramic, of an ancient ritual being performed with complete presence and love. Let this sound wash over you like a lullaby, like the whisper of wind through bamboo leaves. Yet to the professor's growing amazement and confusion, the tea master did not stop pouring when the cup reached its brim. The tea continued to flow in its perfect arc, now spilling over the rim in golden rivulets, cascading onto the worn wooden table, creating small rivers that followed the natural grain of the wood, eventually dripping with soft plinks onto the stone floor below. The professor watched, transfixed, as the precious tea overflowed and pooled, as the master's face remained serene and focused, as if this overflow were exactly what was meant to happen, as natural as rain falling or flowers blooming. Visualize this scene of overflow, dear listener. See the golden tea moving like liquid sunlight, pooling on the ancient wood, creating small streams that sparkle in the lamplight. There is something mesmerizing about this flow, something that speaks to deeper rhythms of fullness and release, of abundance that cannot be contained, of letting go that makes space for something new. "Stop!" exclaimed the professor suddenly, leaping to his feet in alarm. "Master, can't you see? The cup is completely full. It cannot possibly hold any more." The tea master set down the pot with infinite gentleness and looked up at his flustered visitor with eyes that held the depth of mountain lakes, the stillness of ancient forests. "Yes," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper, "and neither can you." A profound silence settled between them then, deep and spacious like morning mist on a perfectly still lake. In that sacred quiet, the professor began to understand. His mind, so full of concepts and theories and clever analysis, was like that overflowing cup. Nothing new could enter because there was no space for it to land, no emptiness to receive it. Feel this teaching settling into your own awareness now, not as something to think about or analyze, but as a gentle recognition. Notice how your mind, too, can release its fullness, can empty itself of the day's accumulated thoughts and worries, making space for the peaceful emptiness that welcomes sleep. The tea master rose and brought a second cup, this one empty. He poured again, and this time the tea filled the vessel perfectly, neither lacking nor overflowing. "To receive," he said gently, "we must first become empty. To learn, we must first admit we do not know. To be filled with wisdom, we must first empty ourselves of the illusion that we already possess it." As this story draws to its gentle close, feel yourself becoming like that empty cup, not lacking or hollow, but spacious and ready. Ready to receive the gift of rest, the blessing of sleep, the profound wisdom that comes not through accumulation, but through release, through the beautiful emptiness that makes all fullness possible. The fire in our temple courtyard burns lower now, its flames dancing with even more gentle grace, casting softer shadows that seem to breathe with the rhythm of your own peaceful breathing. The old monk shifts slightly on his cushion, and in that small movement, you sense the settling that comes when a story finds its perfect moment to be born into the world. "There is another tale," he begins, his voice now even softer than before, like distant thunder rolling over far mountains, about a young student whose eagerness to understand often outpaced his willingness to simply be present. Perhaps you have known such eagerness yourself, that restless hunger for answers, for certainty, for the solid ground of knowing rather than the fluid mystery of not knowing. As you listen, let yourself sink deeper still into your resting place. Feel how your body has grown heavier with each passing moment, as if you are slowly melting into the earth itself, becoming one with the soft support that holds you. Your breathing has found its own natural rhythm now, slow and deep, like ocean waves reaching shore in perfect, unhurried succession. This student came each day to sit with his teacher, an ancient master whose silence spoke louder than most people's words. The student would arrive filled with questions, burning with curiosity, ready to grasp whatever wisdom might be offered. But day after day, the master would simply sit in meditation, saying nothing, offering no teachings, no explanations, no satisfying answers to feed the student's hungry mind. Imagine yourself now in a serene meditation hall, early morning light filtering through paper screens in soft golden beams. The air is still and quiet, filled with the subtle fragrance of cedar wood and the lingering sweetness of incense from the previous evening's ceremony. You can almost hear the gentle whisper of silk robes as meditators settle into their practice, the soft sound of breathing becoming synchronized across the room. Finally, the student's patience reached its limit. "Master," he said one morning, breaking the sacred silence, "I have sat here for months, watching, waiting, hoping to receive some teaching. But you give me nothing. How can I learn if you will not teach? How can I understand the mysteries of enlightenment if you remain silent?" The master opened his eyes slowly, like lotus petals unfurling at dawn. He looked at his eager student with infinite compassion and said, "Very well. I will give you something to work with. Tell me, what is the sound of one hand clapping?" Feel this question settling into the quiet space of your awareness, like a pebble dropped into a still pond. Don't try to solve it or figure it out with your thinking mind. Simply let it rest there, creating gentle ripples of curiosity and wonder. Notice how questions sometimes carry more wisdom than answers, more truth than explanations. The student was delighted. Finally, a real Zen koan to work with, a genuine puzzle to solve. He bowed gratefully and hurried away, his mind already racing with possibilities. For days, he pondered this riddle. He tried clapping with one hand, listening to the swoosh of air. He thought about the philosophical implications of sound without vibration, of music without movement, of presence without manifestation. In your imagination, see this earnest student sitting under flowering trees, walking beside babbling streams, lying awake at night staring at stars, all the while turning this question over and over in his mind. like a smooth stone worn by countless touches. Feel how familiar this kind of mental searching might be. The way the mind grasps and struggles, trying to capture mystery with thoughts alone. Days turned to weeks. The student grew frustrated. He consulted books, debated with other students, even asked other teachers for hints. But the answer remained elusive, dancing just beyond his reach like moonlight on moving water. His sleep became restless, his meditation agitated. The beautiful simplicity of the question had become a torment. Notice how your own mind feels different now from that searching student's. Feel how your thoughts have grown quieter, more spacious, less urgent. Your body rests in perfect stillness, while your awareness remains gently present, neither grasping for answers nor pushing away the mystery. This is its own kind of wisdom, the wisdom of not needing to know. Finally, exhausted by his mental efforts, the student returned to his teacher. "Master, I cannot find the answer. I have thought and analyzed and searched, but the sound of one hand clapping remains beyond my understanding. Please, I beg you, give me the answer." The master smiled with tender understanding. "Show me first what you have discovered," he said gently. The student demonstrated his findings, the swoosh of air, the philosophical concepts, the logical deductions. With each attempt, the master simply shook his head with loving patience. Feel this scene unfolding in the golden light of late afternoon, when shadows grow long and the quality of light becomes somehow more forgiving, more gentle. There is no judgment here, no failure, only the patient love of a teacher who sees exactly what his student needs to understand. "I don't know," the student finally whispered, his shoulders sagging with defeat. "I simply don't know, and I cannot figure it out." "Ah," said the master, his eyes twinkling like stars reflecting on calm water. "Now you are beginning to hear it." "Hear what, master?" "I hear nothing." "Exactly," replied the master. "The sound of one hand clapping is the sound of not grasping. It is the music of not knowing. It is the profound symphony that arises when the mind stops trying to capture mystery and instead allows itself to rest in the spaciousness of wonder. Let these words wash over you like warm rain on summer earth. Feel how your own mind has found this same spaciousness, not trying to understand or analyze these stories, but simply receiving them, letting them pour into the quiet vessel of your awareness, like tea into an empty cup. The student sat in stunned silence, and in that silence, he finally heard it. Not with his ears, but with his whole being. The sound of one hand clapping was the sound of complete presence, of mind resting in its natural state, of awareness free from the need to grasp or possess or understand. As you rest here now, perhaps you too can sense this profound sound. Not something you hear with your ears, but something you experience with your entire being. The sound of letting go, the sound of not needing to know, the sound of pure awareness resting in itself, like space knowing itself as space, like silence embracing itself as silence. From that day forward, whenever the student felt his mind becoming agitated with questions and seeking, he would remember the sound of one hand clapping. He would let his thoughts settle like sediment in still water, and in that settling, he would find the peace that surpasses understanding, the peace that is always present when we stop looking for it everywhere else. Feel yourself settling now into that same peace, that same not knowing that knows everything, that same silence that contains all sounds. Your breathing continues its gentle rhythm. Your heartbeat marks time in its own perfect tempo. And somewhere in the depths of your being, the sound of one hand clapping plays its eternal, soundless song, lulling you deeper into the mystery of rest. The temple courtyard has grown even more peaceful as night deepens around us. The fire now glows like embers of distant stars, its warmth gentle and steady, reflecting in the old monk's eyes as he prepares to share another timeless teaching. You notice how the other listeners have settled into even deeper stillness, their breathing so synchronized with the natural rhythm of night that they seem to breathe with the earth itself. In a village nestled between rolling hills and whispering grain fields, the monk begins, his voice now barely above the soft crackling of dying flames. There lived an old farmer whose wisdom was as deep as his humility was vast. This farmer owned just one horse, a strong, beautiful animal that helped him work his small plot of land and provided his family's modest livelihood. As you listen, imagine yourself in that peaceful village at twilight. See the golden fields swaying in the gentle evening breeze. Hear the distant lowing of cattle returning home. Smell the sweet scent of hay and earth and the promise of rain on the horizon. Feel yourself walking slowly down a dusty lane, your footsteps soft and unhurried, carrying you deeper into this story and deeper into rest. One morning, the farmer awoke to find his horse had broken through the fence during the night and disappeared into the vast wilderness beyond the village. His neighbors quickly gathered, shaking their heads in sympathy. "Such terrible luck," they exclaimed. "Your horse is gone. How will you plow your fields? How will you transport your harvest? This is surely a disaster." But the old farmer simply nodded calmly and replied, "Perhaps. We shall see." Feel the wisdom in these simple words. We shall see, as they settle into your awareness like seeds finding fertile ground. Notice how they invite a kind of patient openness, a willingness to let life unfold without immediately labeling each event as good or bad, fortunate or tragic. Your own mind can rest in this same spacious not knowing, this gentle suspension of judgment. 3 days passed, and the lost horse returned, leading with him a magnificent herd of 7 wild horses from the mountains. The villagers gathered again, this time bright with excitement and perhaps a touch of envy. "What incredible luck," they marveled. "Now you have 8 horses instead of 1. You'll be the wealthiest farmer in the valley. Such fortune has smiled upon you." The old farmer watched the beautiful wild horses grazing in his pasture, their coats gleaming in the morning sun like polished copper and midnight silk. Again, he simply nodded and said quietly, "Perhaps. We shall see." In your resting place, let your breathing match the unhurried pace of this story, each breath as patient and accepting as the farmer's response. Feel how your body has grown even heavier, more relaxed, sinking deeper into the soft support beneath you, as if you too are settling into the earth, like the farmer's deep roots of wisdom. The farmer's only son, a strong young man eager to prove his skill, began the work of taming the wild horses. On the 4th day, while attempting to break in the most spirited of the group, he was thrown violently to the ground and broke his leg in 2 places. The bone pierced through the skin, and it was clear that even when healed, he would walk with a permanent limp and never again possess his former strength. Once more, the neighbors congregated, this time wearing faces of grave concern and sorrow. "How awful," they lamented. "Your son, your only help with the farm, now injured and disabled. What terrible, terrible luck. How will you manage the harvest? How will you care for all these horses? Surely the gods have cursed your family." Feel how even the imagined telling of this misfortune carries no real weight of tragedy, cushioned as it is by the farmer's deep acceptance and by your own growing understanding of the story's deeper rhythm. Your mind rests peacefully, neither grasping at the good fortune nor recoiling from the seeming disaster. The old farmer sat beside his son's bed, gently cooling the young man's fevered brow with damp cloths. His weathered hands moved with infinite tenderness, and in his eyes was not despair, but the same steady peace that had met each previous turn of fortune. "Perhaps," he said softly, not even looking up at his worried neighbors, "we shall see." Picture this scene of quiet devotion, the farmer's gentle hands, the afternoon light filtering through simple curtains, the profound love that asks for nothing but gives everything. Feel how this image settles into your heart like a blessing, warming you from within and drawing you ever deeper into the peaceful surrender that prepares the way for sleep. 1 week later, war broke out between neighboring kingdoms, and conscription officers arrived in the village to draft every able-bodied young man into military service. They went from house to house, taking sons away from weeping mothers and fathers, filling their wagons with the village's youth, destined for distant battlefields, where many would never return. When the officers came to the farmer's modest home, they found his son still bedridden, his leg wrapped and splintered, clearly unable to serve in any army. After a brief examination, they moved on to the next house, leaving the young man safe with his family, while the village echoed with the grief of forced partings. Feel the profound protection in this moment, how what seemed like the greatest misfortune became the greatest blessing. Notice how your own mind can rest in this same trust, that what appears in this moment, whether comfortable or challenging, is woven into a pattern too large and intricate for immediate understanding. The remaining villagers, those too old for war, gathered once more. Their voices were hushed with awe and recognition. "Such incredible fortune," they whispered. "Your son's injury saved him from certain death. How could you have known? How could you have seen what none of us could see? You must possess supernatural wisdom." The old farmer continued his evening chores, feeding the horses, checking the grain stores, moving with the same unhurried grace that marked all his actions. As he scattered seeds for his chickens, he smiled gently and spoke the words that had become his meditation, his prayer, his deepest teaching. "Perhaps we shall see." As this story draws to its peaceful close, feel yourself settling into the farmer's profound equanimity. Each breath you take carries the wisdom of not knowing, the grace of not judging, the deep rest that comes when we stop fighting the natural flow of life and instead learn to move with it like a leaf floating on a gentle stream. Your own day, with all its seeming fortunes and misfortunes, can rest now in this same spacious acceptance. What appeared important this morning may reveal new meanings by dawn. What felt challenging this afternoon may prove to be exactly what was needed. Like the farmer, you can rest in the mystery, breathing, perhaps, we shall see, with each exhale, sinking deeper into the profound not knowing that cradles all knowing, the perfect darkness that births all light. The old monk sets down his empty teacup with infinite care, the gentle clink of ceramic against wood, creating a soft punctuation mark in the flowing story of this peaceful evening. Around the temple courtyard, the other listeners have settled into such profound stillness that they seem to have become part of the ancient stones themselves, breathing with the rhythm of centuries, their presence both deeply felt and completely unobtrusive. Before we continue our journey together, the monk whispers, his voice now like wind through distant leaves. Let us pause here in this sacred space between stories. Sometimes the most profound teachings arise not in the speaking, but in the silence between words, not in the moving forward, but in the gentle art of simply being exactly where we are. Feel yourself now fully held in this moment of pause, this breathing space between one story and the next. Your body has found its perfect resting position, each limb heavy and relaxed, each muscle soft and yielding. Your breath flows in and out with the effortless rhythm of tides, requiring no thought, no effort, no management from your conscious mind. Close your eyes more fully now, if they are not already closed, and sense the quality of darkness behind your eyelids. It is not empty darkness, but rich, velvet darkness, alive with possibility, pregnant with peace, filled with the kind of spaciousness that holds everything without being disturbed by anything. This is the darkness of the womb, of seed resting in fertile earth, of the space between stars where new worlds are born. In this pause, the monk continues, his words spaced like drops of honey falling from a wooden spoon. We remember that rest is not merely the absence of activity. Rest is a positive presence, a state of being that is complete in itself, needing nothing added, nothing taken away. Rest is the natural condition of a mind that has stopped chasing tomorrow and stopped carrying yesterday. Take a moment now to notice what you are not doing. You are not planning or analyzing. You are not solving problems or making decisions. You are not reviewing the day or preparing for tomorrow. You are simply here, simply breathing, simply being present to this moment that contains everything you need and lacks nothing essential. Feel the weight of your head against your pillow, how it settles deeper with each breath, as if the pillow were a cloud that adjusts perfectly to hold you. Notice how your shoulders have released downward, creating space between your shoulder blades, allowing your chest to open gently like a flower turning toward morning light. The ancient teachers knew, the monk's voice drifts through the quiet air, that there is a particular kind of intelligence that arises only in stillness, not the sharp intelligence of analysis or the quick intelligence of reaction, but the deep intelligence of the body, the gentle intelligence of the heart, the vast intelligence of simply being aware without needing to be aware of anything in particular. Allow this deeper intelligence to move through you now. Feel how your heart knows exactly how fast to beat, how your lungs know precisely when to inhale and exhale, how your entire body orchestrates thousands of processes each moment without any conscious guidance from your thinking mind. This same intelligence that keeps you alive during the day continues to work its quiet magic through the night, healing and restoring and preparing you for whatever tomorrow may bring. Your breathing has become a gentle meditation now, each inhalation drawing in not just air, but peace, calm, and the subtle essence of all the stories you have received. Each exhalation releases not just carbon dioxide, but any remaining tension, any lingering thoughts, any small holdings that no longer serve you in this moment of complete rest. Sometimes, the monk observes with gentle humor in his voice, people believe that meditation requires sitting upright in formal posture, that wisdom can only be received when we are alert and focused. But there is also the meditation of lying down, the wisdom of letting go, the profound teaching that comes when we surrender completely to the natural intelligence of rest. Feel yourself now practicing this horizontal meditation, this lying down wisdom. Your spine rests fully supported, releasing any need to hold yourself upright. Your arms lie softly at your sides or gently across your body, hands open and receptive. Your legs stretch long and loose, toes pointed toward whatever direction feels most natural and comfortable. In this position of complete surrender, notice how awareness continues to be present without any effort. You are aware of these words, aware of your breathing, aware of the growing heaviness in your limbs, yet this awareness is soft and non-grasping, like moonlight on water, present without disturbing, illuminating without heating, touching everything lightly. The stories we have shared tonight, the monk continues, his voice growing even softer, are not separate teachings, but facets of a single jewel, different ways of pointing toward the same truth. The empty cup, the sound of one hand clapping, the farmer's patient wisdom. Each story invites us into the same spacious acceptance, the same trust in the unfolding moment. Let these stories settle now in the quiet museum of your heart, not as concepts to remember or lessons to apply, but as gentle presences that will continue to work their subtle magic in the deep places of your being. Like seeds planted in rich soil, they will grow and bloom in their own perfect timing, nourishing you in ways you may never consciously recognize, but will always subtly feel. Your breath grows slower now, deeper, the spaces between inhalation and exhalation stretching into moments of perfect stillness. In these small gaps of not breathing, you touch the same silence that the student found in the sound of one hand clapping, the same spaciousness that allowed the farmer to greet each change with equanimity. As we prepare to continue our journey through the gardens of sleep, the monk whispers, remember that you carry nothing forward but this moment. The past stories rest behind you like a gentle blessing. The future stories await you like a promise of peace. But here now, in this pause between what was and what will be, you are perfectly complete, perfectly present, perfectly held in the arms of this eternal now. Feel yourself cradled in this pause, this breathing space, this gentle interval that asks nothing of you but presence. Your body continues its slow descent into deeper rest. Your mind floats in the spacious awareness that needs no object, and your spirit rests in the profound recognition that this moment, exactly as it is, lacks nothing essential, and contains everything necessary for peace. As the gentle pause settles into your very bones, the temple courtyard around you begins to dissolve like morning mist touched by the first rays of dawn. The fire dims to glowing embers, the stone walls fade into soft shadows, and you find yourself standing at the edge of a moonlit path that leads away from the stories and into the living meditation of sleep itself. Before you stretches a bamboo grove, ancient and vast, its countless stalks rising like pillars in a cathedral made of living green. The moon hangs full and luminous overhead, casting silver light through the canopy of leaves that whisper secrets in a language older than words. This is your path now, dear traveler. Not the path of listening to stories about peace, but the path of entering peace itself, of becoming the very thing you seek. Take your first step onto the smooth earth of this pathway. Feel how the soil is soft beneath your bare feet, covered with a carpet of fallen bamboo leaves that crunch gently with each step, releasing the clean, green scent of growing things. Your feet know this path, though you have never walked it before. Your body recognizes this grove, though you have never seen it with waking eyes. The bamboo stalks rise around you like gentle guardians, some as thick as your waist, others slender as your wrist, all swaying with subtle grace in the night breeze. Their leaves rustle overhead with the sound of distant rain, of silk against silk, of whispered prayers carried on the wind. This sound, soft, continuous, infinitely peaceful, becomes the soundtrack for your journey deeper into rest. With each step you take along this winding path, feel your physical body back in your bed growing heavier, more relaxed, more completely surrendered to the soft support that holds you. Your breathing synchronizes with the gentle swaying of the bamboo, each inhalation drawing in the clean, oxygenated air of this moonlit grove, each exhalation releasing you more fully into the meditation of movement, of walking without destination. The path curves gently to the left, following the natural contours of the land, and you follow without question or hesitation. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. This walking is enough. This moment is complete. This breath, this step, this gentle progression deeper into the grove is all that existence requires of you right now. As you walk, notice how the bamboo creates natural chambers and clearings, intimate spaces where moonlight pools like silver water. In one clearing, you pause to rest on a smooth stone that seems placed there specifically for you, worn smooth by centuries of other travelers who have found their way to this exact spot at this exact moment of need. Sitting here in the imagined grove, feel how your actual body melts even deeper into your bed. Your spine releases completely, no longer needing to hold you upright. Your shoulders drop further toward the earth, creating space for your heart to expand. Your arms rest heavily at your sides, palms open and receptive, fingers completely relaxed. The bamboo around you seems to breathe with its own slow rhythm, expanding slightly with each inhale, settling with each exhale. You realize that you are not separate from this grove. You are part of its breathing, part of its growing, part of its deep rootedness in the earth, and its gentle reaching toward the stars. Rising from the stone, you continue along the path, which now begins to descend gently toward what sounds like flowing water. The bamboo grows even thicker here, the canopy more complete, filtering the moonlight into dappled patterns that dance across the pathway like scattered coins of silver light. Your walking becomes more dreamlike now, each step blending into the next, time stretching like honey, space expanding to hold all the peace you could ever need. You are walking and being walked, moving and being moved, progressing along this path while simultaneously resting completely still in your bed, held in the loving arms of gravity and softness. The sound of water grows clearer now, a small stream running over smooth stones, its voice like liquid music, like laughter made of crystal, like the sound your soul makes when it remembers how to be completely at peace. You know that when you reach this stream, something important will be waiting for you there, something that will carry you even deeper into the gentle country of sleep. The bamboo begins to thin as you approach the water, and through the green stalks, you catch glimpses of silver movement, of light dancing on the surface of a stream that flows with the same unhurried patience as your own breathing. Each glimpse draws you forward, not with urgency, but with the gentle magnetism of coming home to yourself. Your feet find the bank of the stream, soft earth mixed with smooth pebbles, and you stand at the water's edge, looking into the clear depths that reflect the moon like a mirror made of liquid light. The stream is neither wide nor narrow, neither deep nor shallow, but exactly what it needs to be. A perfect boundary between the grove you have walked through and the garden that waits on the other side. Without hesitation, you step into the water. It is neither warm nor cool, but body temperature, as if the stream were made of liquid comfort, of flowing peace, of moving meditation. Each step through the water creates gentle ripples that catch the moonlight and scatter it in widening circles, reminders that every movement in consciousness creates waves of peace that extend far beyond what the eye can see. Crossing this stream is crossing from the grove of stories into the garden of pure experience, from the bamboo cathedral of listening into the open meadow of being. The water flows around your ankles, your calves, and then gradually becomes shallower as you approach the far bank, where new wonders await your peaceful discovery. Stepping onto the opposite shore, you turn back once to acknowledge the bamboo grove that carried you this far. The stalks nod gently in the night breeze as if blessing your passage, as if saying without words, "Well walked, peaceful traveler. Well walked indeed." As you step from the stream onto the soft grass of the far bank, the landscape opens before you, like a secret revealed only to those who have walked through the whispering bamboo and crossed the waters of letting go. Here, bathed in the same gentle moonlight that guided your passage through the grove, stands a temple unlike any you have ever seen, not built by human hands, but grown from the earth itself, shaped by centuries of wind and rain and the patient prayers of countless seekers. The temple rises before you with organic grace, its walls seeming to flow upward like frozen waterfalls of pale stone. Flowering vines cascade down its surfaces, their night-blooming flowers releasing a fragrance so subtle and sweet that breathing becomes an act of receiving blessing after blessing. The architecture follows no earthly pattern, yet feels perfectly familiar, as if your soul remembers visiting this place in dreams beyond counting. A wide path of smooth stones leads toward the temple's entrance, each stone worn to perfect smoothness by the passage of pilgrims who have made this same journey toward inner sanctuary. Your bare feet find these stones cool and welcoming, and you notice that with each step, your physical body in your distant bed grows more completely relaxed, as if each footfall here creates deeper rest there. The moonlight seems to gather and concentrate around this sacred building, making everything luminous without casting harsh shadows. The light is soft and even, like the gentle radiance that emanates from deep meditation, from profound acceptance, from the kind of peace that needs nothing and excludes nothing. You walk forward in this blessed illumination, feeling held and guided by something larger and more loving than you have words to name. As you approach the temple entrance, you notice that there are no doors, only an archway that opens onto deeper mystery, deeper peace. The threshold is marked by two ancient pillars, their surfaces carved with symbols that seem to shift and dance in the moonlight. Not because they are moving, but because your perception is settling into deeper layers of seeing, the kind of vision that emerges only in profound states of rest. Passing through this archway feels like crossing from one kind of existence into another, not dramatically, but with the gentle significance of a breath becoming deeper, a heartbeat becoming more peaceful, a mind settling into the vast spaciousness that is its natural home. Your body moves forward while your awareness expands backward, inward, encompassing more and more of the infinite quiet that is always present when we stop looking elsewhere for peace. Inside the temple, the moonlight streams through openings in the ceiling that you cannot quite locate, creating pools of silver radiance on the smooth stone floor. The space is both intimate and vast, both sheltered and completely open, like being inside a loving embrace that has no boundaries. The air here carries the subtle resonance of countless hours of meditation, thousands of moments of surrender, generations of peaceful breathing that have infused the very stones with serenity. Your feet carry you along a pathway marked into the floor itself, a labyrinth pattern that spirals gently inward toward the center of the temple. This is not a maze to solve, but a meditation to walk, each curve and turn designed to quiet the mind further, to slow the heartbeat deeper, to invite the walker into ever more profound states of letting go. Walking this labyrinth requires no thought, no decision, no choice. The path is clear, the way is certain, and your only task is to place one foot in front of the other while allowing each step to carry you deeper into the mystery of your own peaceful nature. Your breathing naturally synchronizes with your walking, each inhale carrying you forward, each exhale settling you deeper into both the path and the profound rest that awaits you in your bed. The curves of the labyrinth create a gentle rhythm, a sacred dance between moving and being still, between journeying and arriving. Sometimes the path leads you toward what feels like the center, sometimes away from it, but you learn to trust that every step is exactly right, every turn perfectly timed, every moment of this walking meditation, exactly what your soul needs for complete rest and restoration. As you walk, you become aware of other presences in the temple, not visible forms, but gentle consciousnesses, other souls who have walked this path in their own perfect timing, other hearts that have found their way to this sanctuary of deep peace. Their presence is not intrusive, but supportive, like being held in a field of love that has no personal agenda, no expectation, nothing but pure acceptance and blessing, for your journey toward rest. The labyrinth path spirals closer to the center now, and you can feel the quality of space changing, becoming more concentrated, more intimate. The moonlight seems to gather here as if drawn by the accumulated peace of all who have reached this sacred center, creating a luminous circle that feels like the heart of all sanctuary, the core of all rest. With your final steps into the center of the labyrinth, you find yourself in a circular space just large enough for one person to lie down comfortably. The floor here is covered with the softest moss you have ever felt, green and deep and perfectly cushioned, as if the earth itself has prepared this place specifically for your rest, for your surrender, for your journey into the deepest sleep. You lie down on this moss with infinite gratitude, feeling it conform perfectly to your body, supporting every curve and hollow with exquisite care. Above you, the moon shines through the temple ceiling, with light so gentle it seems to caress your closed eyelids, blessing your transition from waking consciousness into the profound rest that your body and spirit have been preparing for throughout this entire journey. Here in the center of the moonlit temple, on the moss that holds you like the most loving embrace, you feel your imagined body and your physical body becoming one again, both resting in perfect peace, both surrendered to the natural intelligence that guides all healing, all restoration, all the mysterious work that happens when we finally, completely let go. Lying on the soft moss in the temple's heart, you feel yourself beginning to merge with the very essence of rest itself. The moonlight above grows softer, more diffused, and gradually the temple walls seem to dissolve around you like sugar in warm tea, melting away to reveal yet another realm of peace. A garden where water flows in patterns of liquid meditation, creating music that speaks directly to the deepest layers of your sleeping mind. You find yourself resting beside a meandering stream that flows with the unhurried patience of centuries. This is not the same stream you crossed to reach the temple, but its continuation, its fuller expression, now grown wide and peaceful as it winds through a garden designed by the gentle hand of nature herself. The water moves with such serene purpose that watching its flow becomes a meditation. Listening to its voice becomes a prayer. The banks of this stream are lined with stones worn smooth by countless seasons of caressing water, river rocks in shades of grey and cream, rose quartz that glows softly in the moonlight, pieces of jade so dark they appear almost black, except where the moving water catches their edges and reveals their deep green hearts. These stones create natural resting places, perfect seats for contemplation, perfect beds for deeper surrender. You shift slightly, settling more comfortably against a large, warm boulder that seems to have been shaped by the water specifically to cradle your form. The stone holds the memory of sun-warmed days and star-blessed nights, radiating a gentle warmth that seeps into your bones and reminds your body how to release every last vestige of tension, every small holding that no longer serves your journey into complete rest. The garden around you unfolds in layers of increasing beauty and deepening peace. Weeping willows trail their graceful fingers in the stream, their leaves creating gentle curtains of green that filter the moonlight into moving patterns of silver and shadow. Night-blooming lotus flowers drift on the slower portions of the water, their white petals luminous as small moons, their centers glowing with the soft gold light of perfect contentment. As you rest here beside the flowing water, you notice that your breathing has naturally synchronized with the rhythm of the stream. Each inhale draws in the cool, moist air that carries the essence of growing things, of clean water, of earth that knows its purpose. Each exhale releases you further into the garden's embrace, further into the profound relaxation that flows through your physical body, like this water flows through its chosen channels. The sound of the water creates an endless, ever-changing symphony. Here, where the stream runs shallow over a bed of small pebbles, it laughs with the voice of joy discovering itself. There, where it pools in a natural basin beneath an overhanging bank, it whispers secrets that only the deepest part of your mind can understand. And further downstream, where it encounters a small cascade of rocks, it sings with the pure tone of crystal bowls, each note perfectly pitched to resonate with the frequency of profound peace. You close your eyes and let this water music wash over you, through you, carrying away any remaining thoughts, like leaves swept gently downstream. The melody of flowing water becomes the soundtrack for your descent into deeper rest. Each ripple and gurgle a note in the lullaby that nature sings to her beloved children when it is time for them to surrender completely to sleep's healing embrace. Small creatures move peacefully through this garden, a family of rabbits grazing silently on the moon-silvered grass, an owl calling softly from the ancient oak that spreads its protective branches over a bend in the stream. These beings belong here as completely as you do in this moment, each one contributing to the web of peace that holds this sacred space in perfect balance. Fish move in the deeper pools of the stream, their bodies silver flashes beneath the surface, their movement creating gentle wakes that catch and scatter the reflected moonlight. Watching them swim is like watching living meditation, their motions so fluid and purposeful that they seem less like separate creatures and more like thoughts the water is having, dreams the stream is dreaming as it flows toward its reunion with the vast ocean of universal rest. The plants in this garden grow in patterns that follow some inner geometry of peace. Ferns unfurl their fronds in perfect spirals. Moss creates soft carpets of green that seem to glow with their own inner light, and flowering vines weave themselves through the branches overhead in living mandalas of beauty and natural order. Every form here speaks the same language of harmony, of things being exactly as they need to be. You find yourself sinking deeper into the embrace of the warm stone, your body conforming to its contours, as if you were made to rest in this exact spot, at this exact moment. The boundary between your body and the garden begins to soften, blur, dissolve. You are the person resting by the stream, and you are also the stream itself, flowing with serene purpose toward destinations unknown, but utterly trusted. Your heartbeat slows to match the gentle pulse of the water flowing around stones. Your breath deepens to hold the same spaciousness as the pools where lotus flowers float in perfect stillness. The small self that carried you through the day's activities expands to encompass this entire garden, this flowing water, this moonlit peace that has no beginning and no end. Time becomes fluid here, like the water itself. Minutes might be hours, hours might be moments. The only measurement that matters is the depth of peace, the completeness of surrender, the the profound trust that allows you to let go of all effort and simply be carried by the current of natural rest toward the ocean of sleep, where all streams eventually find their home. As you rest here in this garden of flowing water, you sense that this stream continues on, winding through other gardens, other landscapes of peace, carrying the music of its flowing toward even deeper rest, even more complete surrender. Soon, you too will follow this water's example, allowing yourself to flow from this garden into the vast, embracing darkness, where all conscious effort dissolves into the perfect unconscious wisdom of restorative sleep. The stream beside you has grown wider, deeper, more languid in its flowing, as if it too is preparing for the great rest that awaits at the end of all journeys. The water moves now with such gentle grace that it barely seems to move at all, more like liquid light flowing in slow motion, carrying with it the accumulated peace of every garden it has blessed, every temple it has encircled, every grove it has nourished with its patient presence. You feel yourself becoming lighter as you rest against the warm stone, as if the garden's peace is gradually dissolving the ordinary weight of your physical form. Your body feels both deeply heavy, sunk into the most comfortable rest, and simultaneously weightless, as if you were floating on the surface of a perfectly still lake, held by water that knows exactly how to support you without effort, without strain. The lotus flowers on the water's surface have begun to glow more softly, their white petals becoming translucent in the moonlight, their centers radiating the gentle gold of candle flames seen through morning mist. These flowers seem to breathe with their own rhythm, opening and closing so slowly that the movement is felt rather than seen, sensed by that part of your awareness that perceives the subtle dance of all living things. Your breathing has become so slow, so deep, so perfectly synchronized with the garden's own breath that you can no longer tell where your inhalation ends and the stream's whispered song begins. Each breath draws in more than air. It draws in the essence of peace itself, the concentrated stillness that has been gathering all evening in the spaces between words, between stories, between one gentle moment and the next. The night sounds around you have grown even softer, more distant, as if the entire world is gradually lowering its voice to honor this transition from waking into sleep. The owl's call comes now from very far away, stretched thin by distance and drowsiness. The water's murmur has become barely audible, like a lullaby sung by a mother who knows her child is nearly asleep and adjusts her voice accordingly, letting each note fade into silence. Your physical body, far away in your bed, has achieved a state of such complete relaxation that it seems to have merged with the mattress, the pillows, the very air around it. Every muscle has released its holding. Every joint has found its most natural position. Every cell has surrendered to the profound rest that comes when we stop trying to maintain the illusion of separation and allow ourselves to dissolve back into the vast, loving embrace of existence itself. The boundary between your imagined presence in this garden and your physical presence in your bed has become so thin, so permeable, that both experiences exist simultaneously in a space beyond ordinary logic. You are lying by the stream and lying in your bed, resting against warm stone and resting against soft pillows, breathing garden air and breathing the air of your bedroom, all at once, all perfectly, all without contradiction. As you watch the lotus flowers drift slowly downstream, you notice that you are beginning to drift as well, not physically, but in that subtle way that consciousness drifts when it prepares to cross the threshold from waking awareness into the vast, healing country of sleep. Your thoughts, already sparse and gentle, become even more spacious, more disconnected, floating through your mind like clouds across an infinite sky. The moon overhead seems to be lowering itself gradually toward the horizon, though you sense this is not the moon moving, but your own awareness gently sinking toward the depths where dreams are born and the body's restoration happens beyond the reach of conscious oversight. The light grows softer with each breath, more golden, more reminiscent of dawn than midnight, as if this ending of conscious experience were already preparing the ground for tomorrow's gentle awakening. You feel yourself becoming like the stream itself, purposeful without effort, moving without strain, flowing toward a destination you don't need to know in order to trust completely. The part of you that has been listening to these words, following these paths, walking through groves and temples and gardens, begins to release its grip on the journey and surrender to the arrival that happens beyond all journeys. The lotus flowers are glowing more faintly now, their light becoming one with the moonlight, becoming one with the gentle phosphorescence that sometimes appears in water at night, becoming one with the soft radiance that emanates from consciousness when it finally stops trying to illuminate anything in particular and simply rests in its own natural luminosity. Your heartbeat has become so slow, so peaceful, that it seems less like the rhythm of one person's pulse and more like the heartbeat of the earth itself, the ancient rhythm that drums beneath all sleeping creatures, the steady reassurance that life continues its patient work, even when we are no longer awake to witness its devotion. The stream is carrying you now, though you remain perfectly still. You are flowing with the water toward the great ocean of sleep, the vast darkness where all streams eventually find their home, where all consciousness returns each night to be renewed, restored, reminded of its source in the infinite peace that needs no name, no form, no understanding to be complete. The last thing you notice, before noticing itself becomes unnecessary, is the way the garden seems to be blessing your transition with every fiber of its being. The stones radiate warmth like benedictions. The water whispers prayers in languages older than words. The flowers release their fragrance like incense offered to honor this sacred passage from one state of being to another. And then, so gently that there is no moment when it happens, so naturally that it feels like the most obvious thing in the world, you drift beyond the garden, beyond the stream, beyond the need for any landscape at all, into the vast, dark embrace where all paths end and perfect rest begins, where your body will spend the night in deep communion with the healing forces that restore and renew, preparing you for tomorrow's gentle return to the light. In the depths of your dreaming mind, where sleep has carried you beyond the garden of flowing water, a new landscape emerges like a memory, awakening from the collective unconscious of all who have ever sought peace through stillness. You find yourself in ancient China, in the shadow of Mount Song, where the Shaolin monastery rises from morning mist, like a prayer made of stone and wood, and the accumulated devotion of countless generations. Here, in the half-light between sleep and deeper sleep, you witness the legend of Bodhidharma, the bearded sage from the West, whose silent gaze pierced through centuries of religious complexity to find the simple, wordless truth that rests at the heart of all seeking. Your sleeping mind receives this story not as history, but as meditation, not as information, but as transformation, each detail settling into your consciousness like incense smoke drifting into still air. The year is somewhere in the 6th century, though time moves differently in this space between dreams. Bodhidharma sits facing a cave wall in perfect stillness, his back straight as a mountain, his breathing so subtle that the spider spinning her web in the corner remains undisturbed by any movement of air. He has been sitting this way for months, some say years, his eyes neither closed in sleep nor fully open to the world, but resting in that middle space where inner vision becomes clearer than outer sight. Feel yourself settling into this same quality of stillness as you rest in your bed. Your spine, though lying horizontal, carries the same dignity as Bodhidharma's upright posture. Your breathing, already slowed by the garden's influence, finds resonance with his patient rhythm. Your eyes, closed in sleep, begin to see with the same inner clarity that allowed this ancient master to perceive truth directly, without the mediation of words or concepts. The cave wall before Bodhidharma is ordinary limestone, unremarkable in every way except for its perfect ordinariness. No special colors, no interesting textures, no distracting variations, just the simple, honest surface of stone that has rested here for millions of years, asking nothing, offering nothing but its pure presence. This is the perfect mirror for a mind learning to rest in its own natural state, undisturbed by the need for entertainment or stimulation. Legend whispers that Bodhidharma's gaze became so steady, so completely present, that his eyes burned through the stone itself, creating 2 holes in the wall that remained long after his death, as testament to the power of unwavering attention. But deeper than legend is the truth this story points toward, that sustained presence creates openings where none existed before, that patient attention dissolves the barriers between inner and outer, self and not self, sleeping and waking. As you rest in your own cave of sleep, feel how your attention, no longer scattered among the day's distractions, begins to gather into the same quality of concentrated peace that marked Bodhidharma's meditation. You need not stare at any wall. The darkness behind your closed eyelids provides the same neutral screen where consciousness can rest without grasping, where awareness can simply be aware without needing an object. The monastery around Bodhidharma's cave continues its daily rhythms. Monks rising before dawn for meditation, bells marking the passage of hours, the soft shuffle of sandaled feet on worn stone floors. But none of this disturbs the master's profound stillness. He has found the place within awareness that remains constant while everything else changes, the still point that exists at the center of all movement, the deep silence that underlies all sound. Students come to sit near his cave, drawn by the palpable peace that radiates from his motionless form. They ask questions, seek teachings, request explanations of the Dharma. But Bodhidharma's only response is his unwavering presence, his complete absorption in this moment that has no beginning and no end. His silence teaches more profoundly than any words could convey. That truth is not something to be grasped by the thinking mind, but something to be lived, embodied, become. One student persists in his seeking, standing outside the cave in falling snow until his legs are buried to the knees, his body blue with cold, his determination blazing brighter than any fire. Still, Bodhidharma sits unmoved, not from cruelty, but from perfect compassion. He knows that what this student seeks cannot be given, but must be discovered within the seeker's own patient heart. Feel this same patient heart awakening within your chest as you sleep. Notice how your own seeking has led you here, to this moment of perfect rest, this state of being that requires no effort, no achievement, no understanding. Like the snow that gradually covers the persistent student, your sleep deepens gradually, naturally, covering all the day's activities with the soft blanket of forgetting that allows true rest to emerge. Finally, the student in his desperation cuts off his own arm as an offering, a demonstration of his commitment that moves Bodhidharma to break his silence. But what the master offers is not comfort or teaching, but a question that cuts deeper than any physical wound. Show me your mind, and I will pacify it for you. I cannot find my mind, the student confesses, his voice barely audible above the wind. There, replies Bodhidharma with infinite gentleness, I have pacified it for you. In your deepening sleep, feel this same pacification occurring naturally, effortlessly. The mind that seems so solid during waking hours, so full of concerns and plans and memories, reveals itself to be like smoke, like mist, like a dream of solidity, dissolving back into the vast spaciousness that is its source. You cannot find your mind either, and in this not finding, you discover the peace that surpasses understanding. Bodhidharma's legs, legend says, withered away during his long sitting. So complete was his absorption in the timeless presence that needs no body to express itself. But his gaze remained clear, steady, penetrating through all illusion, to rest in the simple truth that awareness itself is enlightenment, that consciousness, recognizing its own nature, is the end of all seeking. Your own body has found its perfect stillness now, so relaxed that it seems almost absent, leaving only the gentle rhythm of breathing and the soft pulse of life flowing through veins that have learned the art of effortless circulation. Like Bodhidharma, you have discovered the place where effort ends and being begins, where the seeker dissolves into the sought, where the one who sleeps becomes one with sleep itself. From the ancient cave where Bodhidharma's eternal gaze pierces through time itself, your dreaming consciousness drifts forward through centuries like a leaf carried on gentle currents of air, settling finally in a different landscape altogether. The verdant hills of Vietnam, where plum trees bloom beside quiet streams, and a young monk walks slowly through morning mist, each footstep a meditation, each breath a prayer for peace in a world torn by war. Here, in the soft light of your deepest sleep, you encounter the gentle presence of Thich Nhat Hanh, a master whose teachings flow like water finding its natural course, whose simple words carry the power to transform suffering into understanding, whose very being demonstrates that enlightenment wears not the fierce mask of ancient legends, but the tender face of compassion applied to everyday moments. You find yourself walking beside him on a forest path, though your physical body continues its profound rest in your distant bed. The air here is different from Bodhidharma's stark cave, filled with the songs of birds, the rustle of leaves, the distant sound of temple bells floating across rice fields like audible blessings. This is mindfulness in motion, meditation that embraces the world rather than withdrawing from it. Thich Nhat Hanh pauses beside a small stream, its water clear and cold from mountain springs. Without speaking, he reaches into the flowing water and retrieves a single pebble, smooth, dark, perfectly ordinary in every way, except for the attention he brings to holding it. In your dream state, you watch as he cradles this simple stone as if it were the most precious jewel in all the world. "This pebble," he says, his voice soft as rain on leaves, "has been traveling for thousands of years to reach this moment. It began as part of a great mountain, was worn by wind and weather, carried by rivers, shaped by countless storms and seasons. Now it rests in my palm, and in resting, it completes one journey and prepares for the next. Feel the weight of your own body resting against your mattress, how it too has traveled countless miles to arrive at this moment of perfect repose. Every cell in your body carries the history of stars that died billions of years ago, of elements forged in the hearts of distant suns, of the same creative force that shaped this pebble and shaped the mountain and shaped the stream that carries both toward their next transformation." The young monk closes his eyes and breathes with the pebble, his chest rising and falling with the same patient rhythm that has marked every chapter of this evening's journey toward rest. "When we hold something with complete attention," he continues, "we discover that we are holding not just an object, but the entire universe. This pebble contains the mountain it came from, the rain that wore it smooth, the hands of the river that carried it here. In your sleeping awareness, you sense how your own breathing contains the breath of forests, how your heartbeat echoes the pulse of tides, how your rest participates in the great resting that happens each night as half the world turns away from the sun and surrenders to the healing darkness. You are not separate from the pebble, from the monk, from the stream. All are expressions of the same fundamental peace that expresses itself through infinite forms." Thich Nhat Hanh places the pebble gently on a flat rock beside the stream, positioning it with such care that the simple act becomes a ceremony, a ritual of honoring the extraordinary nature of ordinary things. "Meditation," he says, "is not about escaping the world, but about seeing it clearly. When we see clearly, we understand that there is nothing to escape from and nowhere to escape to. There is only this moment, this breath, this perfect presence that is always available to us. Your breath deepens as you receive this teaching, not through your thinking mind, but through the deeper intelligence of your resting body. Each inhalation draws in the same air that fills the lungs of sleeping children, of dreaming animals, of ancient trees that stand guard over temple courtyards. Each exhalation releases you further into the collective peace that holds all beings in its vast maternal embrace. The stream continues its gentle flowing, carrying other pebbles on their own patient journeys toward the sea. Thich Nhat Hanh sits beside the water in meditation posture, but his meditation is unlike Bodhidharma's fierce concentration. This is meditation with eyes open to beauty, with heart open to suffering, with hands open to serve whatever healing the world requires in this moment. Bombers pass overhead. This is Vietnam in wartime, and even the deepest practice cannot ignore the reality of violence and fear. But the young monk's breathing remains steady, his posture unshaken. He has learned to carry peace within himself so completely that external circumstances, no matter how challenging, cannot disturb the fundamental stillness he has discovered at the core of his being. The bombs cannot destroy the sky, he whispers, and in your sleep, you understand this teaching in your bones. The difficulties of your day, the worries that seemed so important just hours ago, the problems that felt overwhelming in daylight, none of these can touch the vast spaciousness of awareness itself, the sky-like nature of consciousness that remains forever unstained by the clouds that drift through it. A child runs up to the monk, a young girl whose village has been destroyed, whose family has fled, who carries trauma in her small body like a stone too heavy for her shoulders. Without words, Thich Nhat Hanh opens his arms and holds her, his presence itself a teaching about how love responds to suffering, not with answers, but with the willingness to be present, to witness, to hold space for what cannot be fixed, but can be embraced. Breathing in, I see you are suffering, he whispers to the child, his voice carrying across decades to reach your sleeping ears. Breathing out, I hold your suffering with love. This becomes a lullaby, a mantra, a rhythm that matches your own breathing as you rest in the profound safety of your bed, your body protected and warm, while your spirit receives the medicine of this boundless compassion. The pebble remains on its rock beside the stream, a silent teacher demonstrating the patience that allows transformation to happen in its own perfect timing. Like your sleep, it asks nothing, forces nothing, simply rests in the natural unfolding that turns mountains into sand and sand into new mountains, that turns waking into sleeping and sleeping into dreams and dreams into the deepest rest where all healing begins. As the compassionate presence of Thich Nhat Hanh and his simple pebble settle into the deeper layers of your sleeping consciousness, the landscape of your dreams shifts once more, carrying you across centuries and continents to medieval Japan, where snow falls silently on the roofs of Aiheiji Temple and a solitary figure sits in the meditation hall, his breath visible in the cold air, his mind as clear and vast as the winter sky above. This is Dogen Zenji, the master who brought the profound simplicity of just sitting from China to Japan, who discovered in the act of meditation not a means to enlightenment, but enlightenment itself, already perfect and complete in each moment of pure presence. Your sleeping mind receives his teachings not as philosophy, but as direct experience, feeling in your own resting body the truth he spent his life pointing toward. The meditation hall is lit only by moonlight streaming through paper screens, creating geometric patterns of silver and shadow on the worn wooden floors. Dogen sits in the center of this luminous space, his robes dark as night, except where the moon touches them and transforms them into fabric woven from light itself. His posture embodies the perfect balance between effort and ease, upright but not tense, alert but not straining, present but not grasping. Shikantaza, he whispers, and the word floats through your dreaming awareness like incense smoke, like moonbeams, like the breath of the cosmos itself. Just sitting, nothing added, nothing subtracted, no goal to achieve, no state to attain, no problem to solve. Simply the complete acceptance of this moment exactly as it is, the radical acknowledgement that what you are seeking is what you already are. Feel how your own body practices this same shikantaza as you rest in your bed, your spine supported, your limbs heavy with relaxation, your breathing natural and unforced. This too is just sitting, horizontal sitting, the meditation of complete surrender to the present moment without any agenda for how it should be different. Dogen's eyes are neither fully closed nor fully open, but rest in that middle space where inner and outer vision merge into a single awareness that encompasses everything while clinging to nothing. In the moonlight, his face appears ageless, timeless, as if he were not a man from the 13th century, but consciousness itself wearing human form for a brief moment, to demonstrate the natural state that is always available to anyone willing to stop seeking and simply be. The moon does not think of itself as beautiful, he says softly, his voice barely disturbing the profound silence that fills the hall. The mountain does not consider itself tall. The river does not believe it is wet. They simply express their nature completely, without self-consciousness, without comparison, without the burden of becoming something other than what they are. In your sleep, you touch this same natural expression, this being without becoming. Your heart beats without trying to be a good heart. Your lungs breathe without attempting to be better lungs. Your mind rests without endeavoring to be an enlightened mind. All is already perfect in its simple functioning, already complete in its natural expression. The snow continues falling outside the temple, each flake unique, yet part of the same storm. Each crystal following gravity's law without resistance or complaint. Dogen watches this snow through the window beside his cushion, seeing in its falling the same principle that governs all existence. The natural unfolding of what is, the effortless expression of being that needs no improvement, no intervention, no spiritual technique to make it more than it already is. When you sit, he continues, his words falling into your sleeping mind like the snow falls onto the temple roof. You are not sitting in order to become Buddha. You are sitting as Buddha. When you breathe, you are not breathing to achieve enlightenment. You are breathing as enlightenment. When you rest, you are not resting to prepare for awakening. You are resting as awakening itself. Your body receives this teaching in its cells, in its bones, in the deep wisdom that knows how to sleep without instruction. Every function of your resting form demonstrates this same principle. Your body healing as healing, your mind dreaming as dreaming, your consciousness resting as the very rest it seeks. Nothing lacks, nothing needs to be added, nothing requires improvement. A young monk enters the hall, moving with careful steps to avoid disturbing the master's meditation. But Dogen turns slightly and smiles, his expression warm with the recognition that nothing can actually disturb true meditation, because true meditation includes everything: the sound of footsteps, the creak of floorboards, the whisper of robes, the breath of the one who breathes, and the breath of the one who listens. Even disturbance, he teaches, is the perfect expression of undisturbed mind. Even noise is the voice of silence. Even movement is the deepest stillness. When we stop dividing our experience into categories of good and bad, desirable and undesirable, we discover that every moment is complete, every sensation is enlightenment, every breath is Buddha nature expressing itself perfectly. The moon reaches its zenith, flooding the hall with such brilliant light that shadows nearly disappear and everything appears to glow from within. In this luminosity, Dogen's form seems to become transparent, not disappearing, but revealing the light that was always shining through him, the same light that shines through all beings when they cease the effort of becoming something else and simply rest in what they are. This sitting, he whispers, and his voice now seems to come not from his body, but from the moonlight itself, from the falling snow, from the very air that carries his words. This sitting is not practice for some future realization. This sitting is realization itself. And your resting, dear friend who sleeps while listening, your resting is not preparation for tomorrow's awakening. Your resting is awakening itself, perfect and complete, lacking nothing, needing nothing, expressing the Buddha nature that you have never not been. The snow falls more gently now, each flake settling into its perfect place on the temple roof, on the garden stones, on the bare branches of winter trees. Like your sleep settling deeper into your body, each breath finding its natural rhythm, each moment of rest expressing the same fundamental perfection that Dogen discovered in his simple sitting. The recognition that what you seek is what you are is what seeks, and the circle is already complete. From the moonlit meditation hall, where Dogen sits in perfect realization, your sleeping consciousness drifts like morning mist across landscapes of dream and memory, settling finally beside a mountain lake so still it might be made of polished obsidian, reflecting not just the sky above, but the very essence of peace itself. Here, at the edge of this mirror water, sits a monk whose name has been lost to time, but whose story continues to ripple through the collective unconscious of all who have ever wondered about the nature of freedom. This monk has been meditating by the lake for many seasons, his practice as constant as the rhythm of waves on distant shores, as patient as stones worn smooth by countless years of patient water. His eyes rest gently on the surface of the lake, not seeking anything, not avoiding anything, simply witnessing the play of light and shadow, cloud and clarity that dances across the liquid mirror of his natural mind. In your deepest sleep, you feel yourself settling beside this nameless master, your own awareness becoming as still as the mountain water, as open as the vast sky that the lake reflects so perfectly. Your breathing synchronizes with his, slow, deep, effortless, each inhalation drawing in the crisp mountain air, each exhalation releasing you further into the profound rest that has been deepening throughout this night's journey, through stories and silence. The lake holds everything without being disturbed by anything. Clouds pass overhead and are perfectly reflected, then disappear as new clouds take their place. The sun moves from east to west, painting the water gold at dawn, silver at midday, rose at sunset, and now, in the timeless time of your sleep, deep blue-black that seems to contain all colors and no colors simultaneously. A sound breaks the perfect stillness, the cry of a wild goose flying high overhead, its call piercing and clear, carrying in its voice all the longing of migration, all the ancient wisdom of seasonal rhythms, all the freedom of creatures who know no boundaries, but follow instead the magnetic pull of home that lives in their bones, their blood, their very cellular structure. The monk's eyes lift to follow the goose's flight, watching as the solitary bird crosses the face of the full moon, its wings dark against the silver light, its call echoing off the mountain peaks before fading into the vast silence that holds all sounds like a mother holds her sleeping children. For a moment, the monk's meditation includes this wild music, this voice of pure freedom calling from the limitless sky. "How beautiful," he whispers, his first words in many days. to fly without attachments, to follow the invisible threads of wisdom that connect all destinations, to know that home is not a place, but a way of being in harmony with the deeper currents that move through all life. Feel that same harmony settling into your sleeping form, dear listener. Your body has found its perfect position of rest, no longer needing to shift or adjust, completely aligned with gravity's gentle pull toward earth, toward stillness, toward the deep restoration that happens when we stop trying to be anywhere other than exactly where we are. The goose's cry fades, but its echo remains, not in the air, but in the transformed quality of the monk's awareness. Something has shifted, opened, completed itself. He realizes that his years of patient sitting have not been preparation for some future moment of understanding, but have been the understanding itself, moment by moment, breath by breath, like the slow accumulation of stillness that creates a lake capable of reflecting the sky. I have been trying to become like the lake, he says to himself, his voice soft with recognition. But I am already the lake. I have been seeking the stillness to reflect truth clearly, but I am already the mirror in which truth sees its own face. The goose was not flying over the lake. The goose was flying through the sky that I am. In your sleep, you touch this same recognition, not through thinking, but through being. You are not someone lying in bed trying to rest. You are rest itself, taking the temporary form of a peaceful body, a quiet mind, a consciousness that has remembered its essential nature as the very awareness in which all experience arises and dissolves like clouds in an endless sky. The lake continues its perfect stillness, but now the monk understands that this stillness is not static or dead, but vibrantly alive, pregnant with infinite possibility. Every ripple that touches the surface is part of the lake's nature, not a disturbance of its peace, but an expression of its aliveness, its responsiveness, its perfect participation in the dance of wind and water, earth and sky. Another goose calls from somewhere in the darkness, and then another, until a whole flock passes overhead, their voices weaving together in a symphony of wildness and freedom that fills the mountain valley with music more beautiful than any human composition. The monk listens with his entire being, his meditation now including not just stillness, but sound, not just reflection, but the very chaos of life expressing itself in perfect order. Even the noise is silence, he realizes, and even the disturbance is perfect peace. The geese know this instinctively. They fly not away from home but toward it, not away from themselves but deeper into their own nature. Every call is a prayer. Every flight is a meditation. Every migration is a return to the source that was never left. Your own rest deepens with this understanding, your sleep becoming not an escape from life, but a deeper engagement with the creative silence that gives birth to all experience. Your dreams, when they come, will be like the geese's calls, expressions of the wild freedom that knows no boundaries, voices of the natural wisdom that needs no teaching, because it is already complete. The last goose disappears into the star-filled darkness, its call fading until only the memory remains, and then even the memory dissolves into the vast silence that holds all memories, all sounds, all stories in its infinite embrace. The monk and the lake rest together in this silence, no longer two things, but one seamless expression of the peace that passeth understanding, the rest that needs no reason, the home that exists wherever awareness recognizes itself as the very space in which all journeys begin and end. As the wild goose's call fades into the vast silence that holds all sounds, your dreaming consciousness finds itself drawn back into the embrace of living green, but not the same bamboo grove where this evening's journey began. This is a deeper grove, an older grove, where the bamboo has grown for so many centuries that it has become less like individual plants and more like a single breathing organism whose roots intertwine beneath the earth in patterns of connection too complex for any mind to map. Here in the heart of your sleep, where the deepest dreams are born from the marriage of consciousness and the wild intelligence of nature itself, you discover that you can hear what the bamboo is whispering. Not with your ears. Those rest peacefully against your pillow in a distant bedroom, but with the part of your awareness that remembers its kinship with all growing things, all swaying things, all beings that know how to bend without breaking. The bamboo speaks in a language older than words, a rustling tongue that carries messages from root to leaf, from earth to sky, from the dark underground realm where water and minerals dance together to the bright upper world where sunlight and rain perform their daily magic of transformation. As you rest in the deepest layers of sleep, this ancient language becomes perfectly comprehensible, as natural as breathing, as familiar as your own heartbeat. We grow quickly, whisper the younger stalks, their voices bright and eager, reaching toward the light with such enthusiasm that some call us weeds. But we know better. We are not rushing towards some distant goal, but expressing the pure joy of being alive, of responding to sun and rain and wind with every fiber of our being. Our speed is not haste, but presence, not urgency, but the natural overflow of vitality that cannot be contained. Feel this same vitality flowing through your resting body, though it expresses itself now not as movement, but as the deep cellular activity of restoration and renewal. Your body grows and heals and regenerates with the same natural enthusiasm as young bamboo reaching toward light. Though this growth happens in the invisible realm of sleep, in the darkness where roots grow strong and new cells replace old ones and dreams plant seeds for tomorrow's possibilities. The older bamboo stalks speak with voices deeper and more measured, weathered by countless seasons of expansion and contraction, of growing and resting, of reaching upward while remaining rooted in the patient earth. We have learned the secret of flexibility, they murmur, their words carried on the night breeze like whispered prayers. The storm that breaks the rigid oak merely causes us to dance. We bend so completely that our tops sometimes touch the ground, yet we never lose our essential uprightness, our fundamental integrity. In your sleep, your body practices this same flexibility, this same willingness to yield to forces larger than individual will, while maintaining the essential core that makes you who you are. Your muscles relax completely, your joints release their daytime tensions, your spine curves and settles into positions that would be impossible during waking hours, when you must hold yourself upright against gravity's constant pull. The wind is our teacher, continue the elder bamboo, their voices now so soft they might be mistaken for the sound of your own breathing. It shows us that resistance creates turbulence, while acceptance creates music. When we fight the wind, we make harsh, discordant sounds. When we move with the wind, we become part of its song, adding our voices to the great symphony that plays across forests and fields, mountains and valleys. Listen now to the symphony your own body is playing as it rests in harmony with the natural forces that govern all life. Your heartbeat provides the steady bass line, your breathing adds the melody, and the subtle sounds of digestion and circulation create the intricate harmonies that most people never notice, because they are always there, always perfect, always expressing the seamless cooperation of countless systems working together for the single purpose of keeping you alive and healthy and whole. The bamboo grove grows quieter as midnight deepens, but the whispers continue, becoming more intimate, more personal, as if the plants were speaking directly to your sleeping soul. We know the secret of emptiness, they confess, their voices now barely distinguishable from silence itself. Our stalks are hollow at the center, yet this emptiness is not weakness, but strength. Because we are empty, we are flexible. Because we are hollow, we can bend without breaking. Because we embrace the void at our core, we can dance with any force that meets us. Feel this same sacred emptiness at the center of your own being as you rest in the deepest layers of sleep. Not an emptiness of lack or absence, but the fertile void from which all experience arises, the spacious awareness that can hold any dream, any thought, any sensation without being disturbed or diminished. This is the hollow center that allows you to be flexible with life's changes, resilient in the face of challenges, peaceful in the midst of storms. A gentle breeze moves through the grove, and suddenly all the bamboo begins to sway together, thousands upon thousands of stalks moving in perfect synchronization, as if choreographed by some invisible conductor. The sound they make is like nothing in the ordinary world, part whisper, part song, part prayer, part laughter. It is the sound that peace makes when it remembers how to play. This is our deepest teaching, the bamboo chorus whispers as one voice. This is what we have learned from growing together, from sharing the same earth, the same water, the same sky. Individually, we are strong but limited. Together, we create something greater than the sum of our parts. A living cathedral, a green temple, a sanctuary where silence and sound, earth and heaven, emptiness and form dance together in perfect harmony. Your own body rests within this same harmony now, no longer feeling separate from the bamboo, from the breeze that moves them, from the earth that nourishes their roots. You are part of the grove, part of the dance, part of the whispered conversation between all growing things that continues night and day, season after season, year after year, a dialogue of roots and leaves, of darkness and light, of the patient wisdom that knows when to grow and when to rest, when to reach upward and when to bend low, when to speak and when to listen to the deeper silence that holds all whispers in its vast, loving embrace. From the whispering sanctuary of the bamboo grove, your sleeping consciousness drifts like morning mist across landscapes of dream and depth, settling finally at the edge of a sacred pond where the first light of dawn touches the surface of dark water like a blessing made visible, like the gentle kiss of awakening that comes not to end sleep, but to reveal the luminous awareness that has been present throughout the night's journey into rest. Here, floating serenely on the mirror-still water, rests a single lotus flower, not yet fully opened, its petals still curved inward, like hands cupped to hold the most precious secret, like a heart that knows the perfect moment for revelation is approaching but has not yet arrived. The bud glows with an inner light that seems to come not from the dawn breaking overhead, but from some source deep within its own being, some recognition of its true nature that illuminates from the inside out. Your body in its distant bed has become like this lotus bud, holding within itself the perfection that is always present but not always recognized, resting in the dark waters of deep sleep that are not empty but full of restoration, full of healing, full of the mysterious processes that transform yesterday's tiredness into tomorrow's vitality through the patient alchemy of rest. The pond reflects not just the sky above, but the sky that lives within the water itself, the light that belongs as much to the depths as to the heights. Fish move slowly in these depths, their silver bodies catching and scattering reflections, like living thoughts moving through the vast mind of sleep, never disturbing the surface, never breaking the perfect mirror that shows earth and heaven as one seamless reality. As you watch from the shore of your dreaming awareness, the first rays of actual sunlight begin to touch the lotus bud, and something miraculous begins to happen. So slowly that if you were watching with ordinary eyes, you might miss it entirely. So subtly that only the deepest attention can perceive the ancient dance of opening that has been rehearsed 10,000 times in 10,000 dawns across the centuries. The outermost petals begin to loosen their tight embrace, separating from their sister petals with the kind of gentle reluctance that comes not from fear, but from the bittersweet recognition that some kinds of beauty can only be expressed through letting go, through the willingness to abandon one perfect form in order to birth another. Each petal unfurls with the patient grace of time itself, revealing layer after layer of pristine whiteness, touched with the faintest blush of rose at the edges. Feel this same gentle opening happening in the deepest layers of your sleep, where consciousness slowly blooms into whatever dreams or restorative states your body and spirit need most. Not the sharp awakening of alarm clocks and obligations, but the natural flowering of awareness that opens when it is ready, reveals what it is ready to reveal, expresses what it is ready to express. The lotus continues its slow-motion dance of becoming, each petal finding its perfect position in relation to all the others, creating a mandala of organic geometry that no human artist could conceive, a pattern of such exquisite balance that it seems to contain all the mathematical principles that govern the spiral of galaxies, the golden ratio of seashells, the sacred proportions that run like hidden music through all natural forms. In the center of this expanding flower, as more and more petals unfold to reveal the heart of the lotus, a golden glow begins to emerge. Not the gold of metal, but the gold of concentrated sunlight, the gold of honey distilled from the nectar of pure presence. This is the flower's deepest secret, the treasure it has been protecting throughout the long night, the gift it offers to the world when the moment of perfect ripeness arrives. Your own heart, as you rest in the depths of sleep, holds this same golden center, not something you need to create or achieve, but something that is always already present, waiting for the natural cycles of rest and restoration to reveal what has never been hidden, only covered by the daily accumulation of thoughts and activities, and the beautiful busyness of being human in a world that rarely pauses long enough to notice its own sacred nature. The lotus reaches full bloom just as the sun clears the horizon, its petals now spread wide in perfect symmetry, each one a prayer of gratitude offered to the light that called it into this moment of complete expression. The golden center blazes with such gentle radiance that the entire pond seems to glow, the water itself becoming luminous, the fish becoming swimming jewels, the very air becoming visible with sparkles of moisture and light. Birds begin their morning songs, not the harsh cries of day beginning, but the soft, liquid melodies of creatures who know that dawn is not the enemy of rest, but its fulfillment. Not the end of peace, but its natural expression in the world of form and time. Their voices weave together in harmonies that seem to emerge from the lotus itself, as if the flower were singing its gratitude for this moment of perfect blooming, perfect being, perfect presence. And then, just as naturally as it opened, the lotus begins to close. Not from any failure or disappointment, not because the day brings challenges that require protection, but because the flower understands something that human consciousness is only beginning to learn, that opening and closing are part of the same dance, that blooming and resting are expressions of the same life force, that revelation and concealment alternate like breathing, like the rhythm of waking and sleeping that carries all beings through the endless cycles of becoming. As the petals slowly curl inward, drawing the golden center back into the privacy of their protective embrace, you understand that this closing is not an ending, but a completion, not a withdrawal, but a return to the source, not a loss, but a gathering of the day's light to be carried into the next period of rest, the next cycle of opening, the next dawn when the eternal dance of concealment and revelation will begin once more. Your own consciousness, cradled in the deepest phases of sleep, follows this same rhythm, opening into dreams when dreams are needed, closing into dreamless rest when deep restoration calls, always moving with the natural intelligence that knows when to bloom and when to rest, when to reveal and when to remain hidden in the fertile darkness where all flowers begin their journey toward the light. As the lotus draws its petals closed in the sacred completion of its dawn dance, your dreaming consciousness is drawn by an ancient call that lives deeper than memory, older than thought, the eternal voice of water returning to water, the primordial song that first taught the world the rhythm of giving and receiving, of reaching forward and drawing back, of the endless conversation between the finite and the infinite that plays out wherever ocean meets shore. You find yourself standing on a beach that exists in no ordinary geography, but in the timeless realm where sleep carries the soul to remember its origins. The sand beneath your bare feet is warm and fine, each grain worn smooth by countless tides, countless centuries of patient waves polishing the broken shells and stones, until they become offerings worthy of supporting the footsteps of those who have learned to walk between worlds. The ocean before you stretches beyond the horizon, its surface reflecting not just the star-filled sky above, but the vast depths below, where currents older than continents carry the memories of every shore they have ever touched, every cliff they have carved, every grain of sand they have kissed into being. This is the ocean of all oceans, the water that existed before the first rain fell on dry land, the liquid mother from which all life emerged, and to which all life returns in the endless cycles of becoming and unbecoming. Your breathing synchronizes with the rhythm of the waves as they approach the shore, not the frantic crash of storm-driven seas, but the gentle, measured breathing of an ocean at peace with itself, at rest in its own immensity. Each wave that rolls toward the beach carries with it the accumulated wisdom of its journey across vast distances, bearing gifts of salt and seaweed, shells and stories from the deep places where sunlight has never penetrated, but where a different kind of illumination reigns. Feel how your body in its distant bed moves with this same oceanic rhythm, your chest rising and falling like the slow swell of deep water, your heartbeat echoing the ancient pulse that drives the tides according to laws written in the gravitational dance between Earth and Moon. You are both the wave and the shore, both the water that approaches and the land that receives, both the motion and the stillness that gives motion meaning. The waves reach their highest point on the beach and pause, not from indecision, but from the profound knowing that this is the moment of perfect fullness, the peak of giving that comes just before the natural turning toward withdrawal. In this pause, you can hear the ocean holding its breath, gathering itself for the return journey that is not retreat, but completion, not failure, but the fulfillment of the wave's purpose in touching the shore it has traveled so far to meet. Then, with the same gentle inevitability that governs your own drift toward deeper sleep, the water begins its retreat, drawing back toward the sea with a soft hissing sound as it filters through countless grains of sand, leaving behind the gifts it carried, shells arranged in perfect spirals, seaweed painting temporary calligraphy on the smooth surface, tide pools filled with water so clear they seem like mirrors reflecting the infinite depth of the sky. In your deepest rest, you understand this retreat not as withdrawal, but as integration, not as loss, but as the natural pause that prepares for the next approach, the next offering, the next moment of meeting between the vastness that seeks to give and the receptiveness that knows how to receive. Your own consciousness follows this same pattern, advancing into awareness when awareness is needed, retreating into the formless depths when restoration calls. The moon overhead governs this dance with invisible threads of influence that connect every drop of water to the cosmic choreography that moves planets in their orbits, that draws the tides according to patterns too vast for any individual wave to comprehend, yet which each wave serves perfectly through its simple act of being what it is, water in motion, seeking its level, expressing the fundamental force that knows no separation between the drop and the ocean. Another wave approaches, larger and more luminous than the first, its crest catching moonlight and transforming it into liquid silver that pours across the water's surface like molten starlight. This wave carries deeper gifts, not just shells and seaweed, but the memory of every shore it has touched in its long journey across the world's waters, the accumulated blessings of every sunrise it has reflected, every storm it has weathered, every calm it has embodied. As this wave reaches the shore, you notice that the sand itself has become luminous, glowing with the same gentle radiance that marked the lotus's golden center, as if the beach were made not of ordinary particles, but of crystallized peace, of compressed starlight, of the physical manifestation of the deep rest that your body has been growing toward throughout this night's journey through stories and silence. The wave spreads across this glowing sand with perfect trust, knowing that every drop will find its proper place, that nothing will be wasted, that even the water that soaks into the beach will eventually find its way back to the sea through underground channels that connect all waters to the source from which they arose. This is the faith that allows complete surrender, the understanding that letting go is not loss, but transformation. You feel yourself dissolving into this same faith as you rest in the deepest layers of sleep. Your individual consciousness spreads across the vast beach of universal awareness, like water soaking into luminous sand, maintaining its essential nature while losing the boundaries that seem to separate it from the whole. You are still you, but you are also the shore that receives all waves, the ocean that sends them, the moon that governs their timing. The tide turns, and now each wave that approaches seems larger, more encompassing than the last, carrying your awareness deeper into the oceanic state where all separation dissolves, where the one who sleeps becomes indistinguishable from sleep itself, where rest is no longer something you do, but something you are, something you have always been beneath the surface activities of waking life. The final wave of this cycle approaches with the majesty of a liquid mountain, its crest touching the star-filled sky, its depth containing all the mystery of the ocean floor, where ancient currents spiral in patterns that mirror the galaxies overhead. As it reaches the shore, it doesn't crash, but spreads with infinite gentleness, covering the entire beach with water so warm and welcoming that sinking into it feels like coming home to yourself, like remembering something you never actually forgot, but simply stopped noticing in the brightness of day. As the final wave of oceanic consciousness carries you beyond the luminous shore into depths where individual awareness dissolves into the vast waters of universal rest, you find yourself, paradoxically, mysteriously, standing once more on solid ground, though this earth feels different from any you have walked before. This is mountain soil, thin and rocky, blessed by altitude and the kind of silence that comes only when the world falls away below and the sky opens above with infinite spaciousness. You are no longer merely listening to stories or witnessing landscapes of dream, but have become the pilgrim yourself, the seeker whose feet have carried them up winding paths, through valleys of shadow and peaks of light, following not a map drawn by others, but the compass that lives in the heart of all who know that the true destination is not a place to arrive at, but a way of walking, a quality of attention, a depth of presence that transforms every step into prayer. The path ahead rises steeply through terrain that shifts with each breath from the familiar to the mystical. Sometimes rough stone, worn smooth by the passage of countless pilgrims who have made this same journey toward the ineffable summit that represents not achievement, but surrender, not arrival, but the recognition that every moment of walking has been the destination all along. Your physical body rests deeply in your distant bed, yet here you climb with legs that never tire, lungs that draw strength from the thin air, a heart that beats with the steady rhythm of one who walks not towards something, but as something, as peace itself taking the form of movement, as rest itself wearing the mask of effort. The mountain speaks in the language of wind through stone, of water finding its way down impossible faces of granite, of small flowers that bloom in crevices where no flower should survive yet do, their colours impossibly bright against the grey backdrop of ancient rock. This is what perseverance looks like, the mountain whispers through these tiny alpine blooms. Not the force that conquers obstacles, but the patience that finds a way through them, the gentleness that transforms even stone into soil, even the hardest surfaces into gardens where beauty can take root. Your breath comes easily despite the altitude, each inhalation drawing in not just oxygen, but the rarefied essence of high places where earth meets heaven, where the ordinary laws of the lower world give way to the extraordinary physics of surrender. With each exhale, you release not just carbon dioxide, but another layer of the dense concerns that weight down souls at sea level. The worries about tomorrow, the regrets about yesterday, the endless mental negotiations with reality that keep consciousness trapped in the narrow corridors of personal identity. The path turns sharply, revealing a vista that stops all movement, all thinking, all sense of being someone who walks, rather than being the walking itself. Below you, waves of mountain peaks extend to every horizon, their summits floating above layers of cloud like islands in a sea of white mist. Above you, the sky has deepened to such profound blue that it seems less like color than like space itself become visible. Infinity wearing the gentle mask of azure to make its vastness approachable to human sight. In this moment of absolute stillness, though your body continues its deep rest far away, you understand that the pilgrimage was never about reaching the top of any external mountain, but about discovering the peak that exists within consciousness itself, the summit of awareness that is always already present, always already offering the view that encompasses everything without being contained by anything. A weathered stone cairn marks this viewpoint, built by previous pilgrims who understood that some moments require a physical marker. Some experiences call for the gesture of placing stone upon stone as testimony to the fact that someone passed this way, someone saw what you are seeing, someone felt the particular quality of peace that comes only when the world spreads below and the heart opens above to receive whatever blessing the high places offer to those who make the journey. You add your own stone to the cairn, though it appears in your hand without your calling it, smooth and perfectly weighted, as if the mountain itself is offering you the gift of participation in this ancient ritual of marking sacred moments. As you place the stone with infinite care upon the pile, you feel the connection to all who have walked this path before and all who will walk it after, the invisible thread of seeking that connects every pilgrim across time and space in the shared recognition that some hungers can only be satisfied by climbing, some thirst can only be quenched by altitude, some questions can only be answered by the silence that reigns above the clouds. The wind at this height carries no scent of earth or growing things, but only the pure essence of space itself, of distance made breathable, of the vast loneliness that is somehow identical to the deepest intimacy. It moves through you rather than around you, reminding your sleeping form far below that boundaries are conveniences of the lower world, that at sufficient height there is no separation between the breeze and the one who breathes it, between the view and the viewer, between the pilgrim and the path. Rest now against a sun-warmed boulder that seems placed here specifically for this moment of pause, this breathing space in the climb that allows integration of what has been seen and preparation for what lies ahead. The stone holds the accumulated warmth of countless days of sunlight, countless moments when the sky touches the earth with fire, and the earth responds with this patient receptivity that stores heat like a blessing saved for the exact moment when a traveler needs a reminder that even stone can offer comfort. Even the hardest surfaces can provide rest. Your body in its distant bed has found this same quality of support, this same perfect alignment with forces larger than personal will. Every muscle releases its holding. Every joint finds its most natural position. Every organ settles into the optimal rhythm for the deep restoration that happens only when consciousness stops trying to be anything other than what it is and allows itself to be held, supported, nourished by the vast intelligence that governs the rotation of planets and the circulation of blood with equal precision, equal love. The summit still rises above you, though distance has become irrelevant. Time has slowed to the pace of geological change, and effort has transformed into the effortless flow of water, finding its way downhill. You understand now that the mountain teaches not through conquest, but through surrender, not through reaching the top, but through becoming the climb itself, not through arrival, but through the endless deepening of presence that turns every step into a homecoming. From the stone cairn where you rested as both pilgrim and witness, the path continues upward but changes character entirely, becoming less a route to somewhere else and more an invitation into the eternal now that exists between destinations. The rocky trail softens underfoot, carpeted with pine needles that have fallen for decades into patterns of perfect naturalness, creating a path that seems to walk itself, that carries your pilgrim feet forward with such gentle inevitability that effort dissolves into pure being, movement into meditation. Through a grove of ancient pines whose trunks rise like cathedral columns into the mountain air, you glimpse something that stops the heart with its simple perfection. A small hut built from the same stone and wood as the mountain itself, so naturally integrated with the landscape that it seems less constructed than grown, less placed than discovered, as if the mountain had always contained this dwelling within its possibilities and was now revealing it to the pilgrim whose journey has prepared eyes to see what was always already there. The hut sits in a small clearing where wildflowers bloom in defiance of altitude and season, their colours somehow more vivid for their improbability. Deep purple lupines, bright yellow mountain avens, delicate white forget-me-nots that seem to glow with their own inner light. A thin column of smoke rises from a simple chimney, dispersing into the thin air like prayers made visible, like the breath of contemplation ascending toward whatever divine presence watches over hermits and pilgrims, and all who seek the peace that can only be found in the marriage of solitude and vastness. Your body in its distant bed has found this same quality of perfect shelter, this same sense of being held by something larger and more loving than personal effort could create. Every cell rests in the complete security that comes when protection is no longer something you must maintain, but something that maintains you, when safety becomes not a condition you achieve, but a recognition of what was always already present beneath the surface fears and surface needs. The door of the hut stands slightly open, though no invitation was extended and no knock seems necessary. This opening is not carelessness, but the natural generosity of one who has lived long enough in solitude to understand that true aloneness includes everything, that genuine hermitage opens into universal hospitality. As you approach the threshold, you sense the quality of presence that dwells within, not the presence of someone hiding from the world, but of someone who has gone so deep into solitude that they have found the place where solitude and communion are revealed as the same truth wearing different faces. Inside, the hut holds the accumulated silence of years spent in contemplation, decades of dawn meditations and evening prayers that have soaked into the wooden walls like incense, like the breath of the divine made so familiar. It no longer needs to announce itself with drama or miracle, but simply radiates from every surface, the quiet contentment of space that knows its purpose and fulfills it without question or complaint. An old man sits by the small window, his back to the door, gazing out at the mountain vista with the kind of attention that has moved beyond looking at to become looking as, beyond observing the landscape to becoming the landscape observing itself. His hair is white as mountain snow, his posture straight despite decades of sitting, his breathing so subtle that he seems less like a separate being and more like a function of the hut itself, like the stillness that naturally accumulates in spaces dedicated to the cultivation of peace. He does not turn when you enter, but somehow his awareness includes your presence with the same effortless acceptance that includes the wind in the pines, the shift of light across stone, the distant cry of a hawk circling thermal currents far above. "I have been expecting you," he says without turning, his voice weathered smooth like river stones, carrying the authority that comes not from knowledge, but from the deep simplicity that remains when all non-essential knowing has been worn away by time and silence. "Every pilgrim eventually finds their way here," he continues, still gazing out the window where clouds move across peaks like slow thoughts across the mind of the mountain itself. Not because this hut exists in any particular place that can be found on maps, but because every serious journey toward the heart of things must pass through the country of solitude, must rest for a while in the shelter that can only be built from the stones of one's own deepest questions and roofed with the accumulated silence of one's own patient listening. Feel yourself settling into the simple wooden chair that sits beside his, though you cannot remember crossing the room or choosing to sit. The chair holds you with the perfect support that comes from furniture worn smooth by the bodies of countless pilgrims who have paused here on their journey toward whatever summit calls them, worn into the exact contours needed to support a human form in the posture of deep rest, profound attention, complete receptivity to whatever teachings the mountain might offer through this unlikely Professor Emeritus of altitude and solitude. "What I have learned," the hermit says, his words falling into the silence between you like stones into still water, creating ripples that spread far beyond the small room to touch shores of understanding you didn't know existed, is that the question every pilgrim brings up this mountain is ultimately the same question, regardless of how differently it might be phrased. How do I find the peace that does not depend on circumstances? How do I discover the rest that remains constant whether the world cooperates or not. Your breathing synchronizes with his as he speaks, both of you drawing from the same thin air that seems to contain more oxygen than should be possible at this altitude, more life-giving essence than the physics of the lower world would predict. This is the atmosphere of places where the ordinary rules have been suspended, not through violation, but through transcendence, where natural law reveals its deeper flexibility to those who have learned to breathe with the rhythm of the mountain itself. The answer, he continues, is not something I can give you, because it is something you already possess and have simply forgotten how to recognize. The peace you seek is the peace you bring. The rest you climb toward is the rest you carry. The summit you imagine lies ahead is the ground you stand on in this very moment, disguised as journey, as seeking, as the beautiful illusion that what you are must be found somewhere other than where you are. The hermit's words settle into the silence between you, like snow falling on still water, each syllable dissolving into the deeper quiet that has been accumulating throughout this night's journey from story to story, from landscape to landscape of ever-increasing peace. As his teaching about finding what you already possess resonates in the thin mountain air, you notice that the quality of awareness itself is beginning to shift, becoming less like consciousness observing experience, and more like experience recognizing itself as consciousness, like still water dreaming that it is the waves that play across its surface. Come, the hermit says, rising from his chair with the fluid grace of one whose body has learned to move in harmony with the mountain's own geological patience. There is something I want to show you before your journey continues into the deepest rest. He moves toward a door you had not noticed before, not because it was hidden, but because some thresholds only become visible when the one who approaches them is ready to pass through into whatever lies beyond the familiar territories of seeking and finding. This door opens not outward to another part of the mountain, but inward to what seems like a vast underground chamber carved from living rock, its walls smooth as if polished by eons of patient water, its ceiling lost in shadows that contain their own gentle luminescence. The air here is different, not thinner like the mountain air outside, but denser with possibility, pregnant with the kind of silence that dreams use as raw material when they want to create worlds. In the center of this impossible space lies a pool of water so perfectly still that its surface appears solid, like polished obsidian, like a mirror made from liquid night. The water reflects not the chamber's walls or ceiling, but something else entirely. Star fields that seem to extend into infinite depths, galaxies spiraling in slow motion through the liquid medium, entire universes floating beneath the surface like thoughts in the mind of someone dreaming on a scale too vast for individual comprehension. This is the dream of still water, the hermit explains, his voice now coming from everywhere and nowhere at once, as if the chamber itself was speaking through his worn vocal cords. Every body of water dreams when it achieves perfect stillness, and what it dreams is the memory of its source, the cosmic ocean from which all waters arise and to which all waters return, the primordial sea that existed before the first rain fell on the first earth, before the first tide learned to breathe with the moon. You approach the pool's edge, and as you lean forward to peer into its star-filled depths, your reflection appears on the surface, But it is not quite your ordinary reflection. This face looking back at you has the same features, the same eyes, but those eyes hold depths you have never noticed before, depths that seem to contain the same star fields that float beneath the water, the same vast spaces, the same slow spiraling of light and darkness in patterns too beautiful for waking consciousness to hold, without fragmenting into tears of overwhelming gratitude. When we sleep, the hermit continues, and now his voice seems to come from your own reflection in the pool, from the star-eyed being who gazes back at you with infinite compassion. We return to the dream of still water. Consciousness, which during waking hours appears to move and change and flow like a river seeking the sea, discovers in sleep that it was always the sea itself, that the movement was never movement away from stillness, but stillness learning to play with its own infinite potential for expression. As you gaze into the pool, your reflection begins to change, not dramatically, but with the subtle shifts that come when true seeing replaces ordinary looking. The boundaries of the face become less distinct, merging gradually with the star fields that surround it, until you cannot tell where your reflection ends and the cosmic ocean begins. You are looking at your own true face, the face you wore before you were born and will wear after all dreams of separation have dissolved back into the source from which they emerged. Your physical body, resting in its distant bed, enters the deepest phase of sleep as this recognition unfolds. All the stories you have received tonight, the empty cup, the sound of one hand clapping, the farmer's patient wisdom, all the landscapes you have journeyed through, bamboo groves and temple courtyards, lotus ponds and ocean shores, all the teachers you have encountered, Bodhidharma's fierce presence, Thich Nhat Hanh's gentle compassion, Dogen's moonlit clarity, all of these dissolve into this single moment of seeing yourself as you truly are, not someone who occasionally experiences peace, but peace itself temporarily dreaming that it is someone. The hermit extends his weathered hand toward the pool, and somehow you know what he is inviting you to do. Without hesitation, without fear, without the slightest doubt that this is exactly what this entire night has been preparing you for. You step forward into the still water that is not water, but liquid starlight, not cold, but body temperature, not wet, but somehow both denser and more ethereal than air. As you sink beneath the surface, and your sleeping body simultaneously sinks into the deepest restoration, there is no sense of drowning, no struggle for breath. You are not entering the water so much as the water is entering you, filling the spaces between your cells with the dreams that still water dreams, flooding your consciousness with the memory of what you have always been, beneath all the beautiful costumes of individuality and seeking, beneath all the necessary stories of journey and destination. In the depths of this cosmic pool, where star fields bloom like underwater flowers and galaxies spin like prayer wheels in the liquid darkness, you encounter the deepest truth that can only be known in the most profound sleep. You are not the dreamer of your life, but life itself. Dreaming that it is you, not the one who rests, but rest itself, wearing the temporary mask of personal identity. Not the seeker of peace, but peace itself playing hide and seek with its own infinite nature. The dream of still water becomes your dream, and your dream becomes the dream of still water. And in this perfect reciprocity, this complete mutual recognition, The last trace of separation dissolves like salt in the ocean, like starlight in the dawn, like the final conscious thought before consciousness learns to rest so completely in itself that even the one who rests disappears into the resting, leaving only the vast, loving awareness that dreams all beings into existence and holds them in its depths until they are ready to remember who they really are. In the depths of the cosmic pool where star fields bloom and galaxies spin in liquid meditation, where your consciousness has dissolved into the dream of still water, and the still water dreams through your sleeping form, a final mystery reveals itself, not as teaching or story or landscape, but as the recognition that runs beneath all teachings, the silence that gives birth to all stories, the invisible ground from which all landscapes of peace emerge, and into which they ultimately return. You find yourself, though the you who finds is no longer separate from what is found, in a place that is not a place, a time that encompasses all times. Here, in the deepest chamber of sleep's infinite palace, lies a figure so still, so perfectly at rest, that at first you mistake him for a statue carved from the same cosmic stone that forms the pool's basin. But as your star-touched awareness settles into deeper recognition, you realize this is the sleeping master, the one who has been dreaming all the stories you have received tonight, the consciousness through which every tale has flowed, the dreamer whose dream contains all other dreams. His form is both ancient and timeless, both human and beyond humanity. His face holds the weathered peace of Bodhidharma's cave sitting, the gentle compassion of Thich Nhat Hanh's wartime service, the profound simplicity of Dogen's just sitting, the patient wisdom of the farmer who knows that all fortunes pass. Yet beneath these accumulated features lies something even more fundamental, the original face that all beings wear before they learn to distinguish between sleeping and waking, self and other, the seeker and the sought. Do you want to know the secret? He asks without opening his eyes, without moving his lips, his voice arising from the same source as your own deepest listening, the same wellspring from which all true questions emerge. His question hangs in the space between you, like morning mist over still water, neither urgent nor casual, but carrying the weight of something that has been waiting eons to be asked and answered simultaneously. The secret, you realize with a sudden clarity that comes only in the deepest states of rest, is not something hidden or withheld, not some esoteric knowledge reserved for advanced practitioners or perfect meditators. The secret is the very obviousness that has been present throughout every story, every journey, every moment of this night's passage, from conscious listening into unconscious absorption, into the place beyond the difference between conscious and unconscious. The secret, the sleeping master continues, his words forming in the space where your deepest understanding meets his deepest knowing, is that there never was anyone who needed to learn how to rest. Rest is not a skill to develop or a state to achieve. Rest is what you are when you stop trying to be anything else. Sleep is not something that happens to you. Sleep is something you are, something you have always been, temporarily disguised as someone who sometimes has trouble sleeping. As this recognition settles into the marrow of your being, you understand that every technique for improving sleep, every story designed to induce rest, every meditation aimed at producing calm, is ultimately a gentle conspiracy to help you forget what you were never in danger of losing, your fundamental nature as the awareness in which all states of consciousness arise and pass away, including the states called waking and sleeping, seeking and finding, knowing and not knowing. The bamboo grove you walk through, the Master continues, was your own flexibility made visible. The temple where you followed the labyrinth was your own sacred geometry expressing itself in form. The garden with flowing water was your own peace, taking the shape of rivers and streams. The ocean tide that carried you beyond the shore was your own vast nature, recognizing itself in the rhythm of giving and receiving that governs all existence. Your sleeping body, wrapped in the soft cocoon of blankets and mattress, breathes with the same cosmic rhythm that moves the tides, that draws the bamboo towards sunlight, that opens the lotus at dawn and closes it at dusk. Every cell participates in the same intelligence that knows when to metabolize and when to rest, when to grow and when to shed, when to hold and when to let go, without any conscious instruction from the mind that imagines it is in charge of such things. Even this moment, the sleeping master whispers, his voice now indistinguishable from the sound of your own heart beating, your own breath flowing in and out in perfect synchronicity with the breath of the mountain, the breath of the sea, the breath of the cosmos itself. Even this recognition is not something new you are learning, but something ancient you are remembering. The original knowing that was never forgotten, only temporarily overlooked in the fascinating game of pretending to be someone who must seek what they already possess. The great secret, revealed at last not as information, but as recognition, not as something to grasp, but as something to dissolve into, is that the sleeping master and the one who has been listening to these stories all night are the same being, the same awareness, the same peace that is always already here, always already complete, always already rest itself, dreaming temporarily that it needs to find rest somewhere else, somehow else, through someone else's stories and techniques and practices. As this final understanding washes through your consciousness like warm water through willing earth, you feel yourself becoming the sleeping master, even as you remain yourself. Feel yourself dreaming all the stories that have carried you to this moment of complete rest, even as you continue to receive them. Feel yourself both as the one who sleeps and as sleep itself, both as the dreamer and as the dream, both as the awareness and as that which awareness is aware of. The cosmic pool reflects nothing now because it contains everything. The hermit's hut opens onto all landscapes because it rests in the landscape that includes all others. The pilgrim's path leads everywhere because every step was already home. And you, the you who began this journey listening to stories about peace, discover that you are the peace the stories were pointing toward, the rest they were designed to evoke, the sleep they were meant to serve. In the deepest silence that follows the deepest secret, where the sleeping master dreams and is dreamed, where the cosmic pool reflects the stars that dream they are separate from the water that dreams it is separate from the stars, you rest at last in the recognition that has been present from the very first breath, the very first word, the very first invitation to let go and settle into the peace that passes understanding, because it is the understanding that needs no passing, the rest that requires no seeking, because it is what seeks, the home that needs no journey, because every apparent journey is its way of coming closer to itself.